Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am Goddess High Priestess Empress Ambala Pantera. This is going to be the energy update regarding the new moon in Capricorn that occurred on the 18th at 28 degrees, which is basically the threshold of authority. So, this was basically a new moon that we just experienced that wasn't gentle. It was more so having to do with rebuilding structure and a structure that is final when it comes to the tone of it. So it's precise and exacting. So the sun and the moon basically met in the last degrees of Capricorn, which is a culmination degree where the efforts either crystallizes into authority or collapses under its own weight. Okay. Now, with that being said, this type of lunation functions as a career destiny reset, not through ambition alone, but through consequence. So at this point, this is basically visibility, having to do with visibility, reputation, mastery, leadership, and the irreversible public path in matters of Capricorn energy or the 10th house. So seeds planted here are not so much private intentions, they are actually structural decisions that can alter your trajectory. So the core frequency of Capricorn in this anaretic gate, 28, 29 degrees of Capricorn, carries the signature of closure before mutation. So this Capricorn chapter is basically about finishing. Whatever has been built without integrity cannot cross forward or move forward. What has been disciplined, aligned, and earned is locked into place. So, this new moon in Capricorn that occurred on the 18th at 28 degrees, it demanded for you all to connect deeper into ownership without justifying ownership, responsibility without apologizing about it, and authority without external validation. Because Capricorn in this energy is not necessarily climbing, it's standing at the summit, deciding what remains standing strong with it. The fact that we also have Mercury and Mars clustered into the sign of Capricorn, this compresses the psyche, your will, your voice, and action into one directed force. So the sun and the moon that occurred in this exact conjunction, 28 degrees, making it a new moon, it connected more so to identity and emotional body unification. It's not so much about an internal split. So basically, it's more so about what you feel and what you do are no longer negotiable. With Mercury conjunct Mars at 0 degrees, this is where speech became decisive. Words initiated action and contacts, resignations, declarations, boundaries, and final conversations carry a much stronger frequency and vibration, or you can say force. With Mars in Capricorn, which is also where it's exalted, this is about controlled power, strategic action, and no wasted motion. With Mercury in the sextile to Saturn trining Uranus, this is where decisions are both sober and innovative, along with old systems are being re engineered, not destroyed impulsively, which is so amazing because I do recognize in the, I would say, what is it, the past 3 lives, that verbiage of an engineer kept on coming through. And that would be connected to that new moon that occurred on the 18th, where old systems are being re engineered, not destroyed impulsively, though. So this is more so about executive energy that does not ask for permission to be exactly what it is. Pluto's imprint in this lunation of the new moon in Capricorn that occurred on the 18th, it's literally 10:10 right now. This is where power cannot be unseen. So both the sun and the moon in Capricorn applying to Pluto and Aquarius, this is basically marking a new moon as a power transfer moment. So basically what that's saying is that it's revealing where authority has been falsely assumed, where control has been outsourced, and where power has been delayed out of fear. What emerges from this is new relationships. Um, it's an emergence of new relationships to influence, especially in collective spaces. So that's the Aquarian 11th house vibes or themes. Leadership here shifts from title into impact. Okay. This is not about domination. It's more so a structural truth of asserting yourself. Basically, you know exactly who you are and you're being just that. Saturn and Neptune still in Pisces before they enter the sign of Aries. This is about the dissolution of false callings. Basically, Saturn conjunct Neptune in this 12th house energy operates behind a veil, which is basically marking an ending during the time of this new moon in Capricorn. It would be marking an ending of illusionary missions, sacrificial roles, confused obligations, or any type of spiritual bypassing. So any career, role, or identity that depended on this level of martyrdom syndrome dissolves here, as Capricorn will be helping you to build only what can stand without erasing the truth of yourself or self-erasure. So this type of aspect is where there's a demand of spiritual maturity, not necessarily withdrawal. With Jupiter in retrograde in the sign of Capricorn, this would be the emotional counterweight. So the opposition from Jupiter in Cancer during this new moon in Capricorn, it reactivates ancestral memory, home, and emotional conditioning. The tension here is very clear, where you're seeing your public destiny versus your private comfort. So basically, growth at this point no longer comes from retreating into the familiarity. It's more so you stepping into emotional security as a result of evolving to support authority rather than undermine it. So this is where lineage patterns are either healed or repeated. With Uranus and Taurus, there's the recalibration of value. And it trying to this Capricorn new moon, it basically sends off a signal, a cluster of signals in regards to disruption in your income, resources, and self-worth systems. Stability here is redefined. So basically, it's more so connected to what you are willing to tolerate for security changes. New value structures here emerge that favor autonomy over endurance. With Venus in Aquarius in conjunction to Pluto, that's more so about relational evolution. So what that means is with Venus going into the sign of Aquarius in connection to Pluto, it's a rewrite of relational contracts. So this is where there's an evolution in regards to who you align with, who has access to you, and who shares visions versus being around people just for the sake of convenience. So your connections become more purpose driven and not so much having to do with surface alliances. And those type of alliances are losing great relevance at this time. With Chiron and Aries, it's the initiation of sovereign identity. So basically, this new moon activates a deeper healing around your self-assertion. Courage is reclaimed through action and not affirmation. The wound of visibility is addressed, if you allow it to be, by stepping forward anyway. So basically, that new moon in Capricorn, what it did was, or what it's doing, it's not so much about intention setting in the abstract. It's more so accepting the weight of your path, choosing permanence over flexibility, and releasing roles that cannot scale with truth. It marks the end of preparation, basically. So what begins now over into the next 6 months, it's more so carrying the frequency to be built to last, because it's being built without distortion. Okay. Now, with it being at that 28th, going into the 29th degree, it's the final judgment degree. It's a verdict type of energy. It's a degree that carries the tone of structural truths, authority earned or revoked, or karmic accounting. So Capricorn here is asking the following question: what is solid enough to carry power forward? Anything built on endurance without alignment will reach exhaustion. Anything built with discipline and integrity becomes much more permanent, or has a much more solid structure to stand on. Okay. And this type of degree, 28, 29 degrees, is connected to mastery without display, leadership without performance, and responsibility without external reinforcement. As it is the last gate before Aquarius, this is where authority shifts from hierarchy to function and power shifts from title to contribution. So this new moon, it's not so much about granting permission, it's confirming your placement. Okay, 1 second. So we're gonna go through a brief breakdown here in regards to all of the signs for Aries, Sun, Moon, Rising. This is activating your 10th house of career identity, public role. So for Aries, the message is career identity crystallizes and public role clarifies. This is where you're making a decision that alters visibility long term. Leadership is no longer theoretical in this type of energy here for you. So this is a time for you to make a firm career decision and act on it, Aries. Clarify your public role, title, or authority. Document boundaries with superiors or institutions. Make sure you're not delaying out of fear of visibility. Make sure you're not venting emotionally in professional spaces, Aries. And make sure that you're not undercutting your own authority. It is highly suggested that you choose one leadership action, Aries, and execute it cleanly within the next 72 hours. For Taurus, this new moon in Capricorn that occurred on the 18th is activating your 9th house of belief systems, education, publishing, and spiritual authority reaching its final form. Teaching, broadcasting, or relocating aligns with this, will help you to align even more so with your destiny. And for Taurus, you're being asked to commit to a belief, a teaching path, or certification or publication. Speak from earned experiences, not so much theory. Finalize travel or relocation decisions that are tied to your purpose. Make sure that you're not arguing with people to convince them, Taurus. Make sure that you're not over explaining your philosophy to people. And also be sure that you are not staying silent when truth is required. Over the next 6 months with this new moon in Capricorn, it's highly suggested that you write or speak one clear statement that defines what you stand for, Taurus, okay? For Gemini, this is activating your 8th house of shared resources, contracts, debts, and energetic entanglements that are coming to its final cut. Power dynamics are being rebalanced and dependency patterns are ending here for you, Gemini. It's important for you to close financial or energetic entanglements, renegotiate contracts, debts, or shared resources, and claim power where you've previously deferred from doing so. Make sure that you're not avoiding difficult money conversations, Gemini. Make sure that you're not maintaining emotional leverage dynamics. Make sure that you're not sharing resources without clarity. It's highly suggested for you, Gemini, over the next 6 months with this new moon in Capricorn at 28 degrees, with the closing gate, that you create written terms for any shared exchange moving forward. For Cancer, this is activating your 7th house of partnerships that are undergoing a reality check. Commitments either mature into structure or dissolve. Projections end in this type of energy here for you over the next 6 months, Cancer, activating your 7th house. So make sure that you are defining partnerships, expectations clearly. Choose alignment over emotional familiarity and agreements that lack reciprocity. Make sure, Cancer, that you're not nurturing potential instead of reality. Make sure that you're not staying to keep peace. And also make sure that you're not carrying relational weight alone. So it's highly suggested for you, Cancer, that you ask one direct question that reveals the truth of a commitment, or if there is commitment at all. Leo, this new moon in Capricorn is activating your sixth house of daily labor, health rhythms, and service roles restructure. Things could be slowing down here for you as well, or you're becoming more in tune with your nervous system. Here, Leo, work that drains vitality, you're letting that go, and systems are becoming much more efficient for you. Let me see something here. Let me adjust this. So, Leo, let me look. Bam. With this new moon in Capricorn at 28 degrees, activating your sixth house, it's important to restructure daily routines and workload, eliminate any efficiencies, and prioritize physical systems that support longevity. Leo, make sure that you're not overextending to prove worth. Make sure that you're not ignoring physical signals. And also make sure that you're not accepting chaotic work environments, Leo. Okay? It's highly suggested for you that you simplify one system at a time. You can start with the schedule, then look at your nutrition or workflow, but simplify at least one system, okay? Over this, the course over the next 6 months, you can do something every month where you're simplifying your schedule, your nutrition, and your workflow, Leo. For you, Virgo, this new moon in Capricorn at 28 degrees is activating your fifth house of creative authority. And this creative authority locks in where pleasure aligns with your purpose. This could even have to do with the project, a child, or an artistic path that reaches definition here for you. So with that being said, make sure, Virgo, that you are committing to a creative or expressive project. Lead with joy that has structure and take your talent seriously. Be sure that you're not over editing before sharing, Virgo. Make sure that you're not dismissing pleasure as unproductive. And also make sure that you're not hiding behind preparation. It's highly suggested that you set a completion date for creative output, Virgo. Okay? Next, we have Libra. This new moon in Capricorn is activating your fourth house of homeland, ancestry, and emotional foundations, finalizing. So a long chapter of internal restructuring comes to a conclusion. So with that being said, Libra, this new moon in Capricorn activating your fourth house, be sure that you're establishing emotional and domestic boundaries. Make decisions basically about home, family, or land through stabilizing your private foundation. Libra, be sure that you are not revisiting old family roles, delaying necessary conversations, and make sure that you're not seeking approval before taking action. For you, Libra, it's highly suggested that you reclaim one private space as exclusively yours in order to establish this emotional and domestic boundary. Scorpio, we have the new moon in Capricorn activating your third house of voice, contracts, writing, communication. You will notice over the next 6 months that your voice becomes more decisive. Contracts, writing, communication, and sibling dynamics reach clarity. There's going to be an end here in silence when it comes to possible connection with a sibling here for you, Gemini. Why am I saying Gemini? No, we're not talking about Gemini. It could be with the Gemini. However, that is third house energy though. with this new moon in Capricorn activating your fourth house, Libra, make sure that you, Scorpio, excuse me, it could, so something with an air sign for you, Scorpio. Make sure that you speak decisively, put any agreement that you have in writing, share information strategically. So with that being said, make sure that you're not hinting instead of stating. Say it with your chest, Scorpio. Make sure that you're not holding back to maintain control. And make sure that you're not engaging in circular dialogue. So it's highly suggested that you send one message that clarifies terms without emotional padding. Okay, this is literally the energy for you, Scorpio. Say it with your chest. Sagittarius. This new moon in Capricorn activated your second house of self-worth. That is recalibrating. Income streams are restructuring, and your value becomes non-negotiable. All right. So with this new moon in Capricorn activating your second house, Sagittarius, you're being guided to set firm standards around income and your value. Charge appropriately. I heard that shit. Invest in what sustains you. Okay. Make sure that you're not undervaluing your skills, trading stability for excitement, and rationalizing scarcity. It's highly suggested for you, Sagittarius, that you define your non-negotiable minimum standard for compensation, as this is activating your fourth house. Okay. Capricorn. Wait, I have to give me some water here. Capricorn, this new moon, your new moon, is activating the house of you, your first house of identity. And this new moon will be crystallizing your identity. This is also about a new embodiment that is emerging, and your old self-definitions collapses. This is also where authority becomes intrinsic for you, Capricorn. So basically, for you, make sure that you're stepping fully into your role without self-minimizing, Capricorn. Act from internal authority and lead by example, Capricorn. Make sure that you're not carrying outdated self-definitions. Make sure that you're not waiting for validation. And also make sure that you're not over-explaining identity shifts. So it's highly suggested for you, Capricorn, to make one visible move that reflects who you are now. Those suggestions that we did for each of the signs, it's highly suggested that you do it over the next 72 hours. Okay. Aquarius, this new moon is activating your 12th house. So this is where karmic cycles close quietly, spiritual obligations dissolve, solitude becomes much more strategic rather than isolating. Aquarius. So with this activating your 12th house of spirituality, self-undoing, you want to make sure that you're closing out karmic loops, and you can do so quietly. Rest with intention and release obligations rooted in guilt. Aquarius. For some of you, what I'm picking up here, because I felt the energy of Capricorn in this vibe for Aquarius, so this could have to do with work, where you could be someone who constantly overworks, and when it comes to the time of you resting, you may feel guilty about it. No, get your rest, beloved, okay? Take care of you. Make sure you're not isolating out of avoidance. Make sure you're not re-entering old spiritual contracts, and make sure that you're not confusing withdrawal with wisdom. So over the next 72 hours, Aquarius, it is suggested that you consciously end one draining commitment without announcement. All right, Aquarius. For you, Pisces, this new moon is activating your 11th house. Okay. And this is about community alliances and long range goals being restructured. So, this is where you could see a shift in networks and your vision becoming something that you can, you know, move forward with executing. For you, Pisces, this new moon activating your 11th house, make sure that you are aligning with networks that support your long term vision. Therefore, step into leadership within your community, whatever you consider your community. Be sure, Pisces, that you are choosing quality over quantity in connections. Make sure that you're not staying loyal to misaligned groups, Pisces, or overgiving socially, or blurring goals just to keep harmony within whatever this alignment that's more of a misalignment in regards to a certain community or a group of people that you've been connected to. Over the next 72 hours, it's suggested that you remove one alliance that no longer matches your trajectory, Pisces. That's going to be very important. Okay. So, with that being said, this new moon that occurred on the 18th, it rewards your decisive maturity. So action taken now sets forth a durable trajectory or path forward. Indecision is just going to prolong the wait. All right. It's more so about behavioral alignment too. It's important to make one final decision that you may have been postponing, whether this has to do with a job, boundary, structure, or role. Write it down in clear language, what is ending, effective immediately. Make sure that you clean or organize one physical area connected to work status or responsibility, and reduce inputs. Basically, have fewer conversations, less noise, no debating. Make sure that you're not overdoing it when it comes to, asking for feedback or consensus in a sense. Make sure that you're not reopening emotional explanations or entering negotiations when it comes to a boundary, because a boundary, it's set. There's nothing to negotiate when a boundary is set. Okay. So yeah, that's pretty much the gist of the new moon in Capricorn. I did plan on doing that in yesterday's live. I believe it was vibing. So yeah, I'll be back with another live. Just wanted to make sure, as I mentioned, that you all have that information and move accordingly. Love you. Bye.